Welcome back, everybody, to the Inner Geekdom. As always, I am Rune, and today I have with me none other than Mr. Shorty Mafia, because as we promised, we're going to be reviewing the first 3 episodes of Tower of God. So, Shorty, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a quick shout out of where people can find you?
Yep, Shorty Mafia, Shorty for short. You can find me on Twitch at Shorty Mafia.
Awesome, and of course you can find me here. This is where you mostly find me, but we're going to be doing some fun collabs with some other people here very soon. But yes, this week you challenged me to watch the first 3 episodes of Tower of God, which I had previously watched, but it was in one of my I'm about to fall asleep, let's just throw something on type state. So I had missed a good bit of important setup for this series that I thought was decent. I don't think that it has me completely hooked yet, but I do think going back and revisiting these first 3 episodes, I do have a bit more hope for it. Much like my original thought on it, though, this first arc is reminding me a good bit of like Hunter x Hunter's first arc with its examination, like arc. So you read this series, if I'm not
Yes.
yeah, so you read this as well, but you did also watch the anime on top of that. So first 3 episodes in, how are you saying this adaptation is staying? Is it being pretty faithful to the source material so far, and what are your first initial impressions of it?
So it's almost bar for what's in the actual written material, which I really appreciate. So we were really worried that when they transferred it over to anime, they'd just have their way at it, and they did not do that. I'm super happy.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to hear that, because I feel like we're starting to go into a bit of a renaissance of faithful adaptations of things, because they're just learning, hey, if you stick to the source material that people love, you're going to get a product that people love. So, but yeah, I am getting Hunter x Hunter vibes from this, and that's not a bad thing, because I am a big fan of competitions in anime, so this is very much in that same type of a vein. The main character, he is mid for me. He doesn't have a whole lot of personality. He is very much I'm sure that he'll have some like mystery that goes about him because he has a mysterious past, but personality wise, he's very straight line, kind of, buttered toast.
Yeah, so for the first couple episodes, I can see that. After the first season, though, it does a 180, and I love it.
That's good to hear, because I mean, like, I'm not saying he's a bad character, but I do have a tendency to love an anime based on its surrounding cast, which does bring us to the best character so far in the show, and that is Mr. Gator Rock, man. Like, he's the best character in this show, and anybody
Red
that
Gator,
wants to
Black Gator, Blue Gator.
Blue Turtle. I love this guy, man. Like, I love big stupid characters. Anyone that knows me, you can usually get a good laugh out of me if you bring me a character like that. He is pure barbarian dumbness, and I love that in a character. Like, it's fun for me.
Just out of
Coon,
curiosity, how far did you get through it the first time you watched it?
episode 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gotten a little bit into it. I've definitely gotten past what the next arc is, the next like piece of this arc, which is the crown game. I've already gotten past that, and at least into the next game. I can't remember exactly what it was. So, but yeah, so that is the thing. Just to get people kind of caught up on what this is, can you give us kind of a basic synopsis of what this series is? What is the world that we are basing our story in?
So it's a tower. It's the basic understanding of it. You climb the tower to get stronger and stronger and challenge God to an extent. Jihad is the
Jihad,
name of the
yes.
god in this one. Um, but there's a rule in the tower, and they say it over and over again, so it's not really spoilers. Anyone who is born in the tower cannot fight God. It is
Yeah.
a solid rule that is built into the very laws of the tower. So people like Bond, who was born outside the tower, is called an irregular. And
Yes.
they are the only ones who can threaten Jihad's rule.
Yeah.
So this follows the story of Bond climbing the tower and getting stronger and stronger and stronger, but not he's not doing it to fight Jihad. That's just kind of a side project he's going to do on the way.
Yeah, he's trying to get back to his girlfriend, you see, because he got pooped out by some rocks and had really rocking long hair. At some point, this hair gets cut, but I haven't got to that part yet. But so she's like taking care of him, and he's like obsessed with this girl. But then she's like, guess what? Guess I get to go up the tower. And she turns into fairy dust and like disintegrates, and she's gone. And he's like, wait. I want to come too. So he's decided I'm going to go up the tower. And this is first episode because then some of these other like what do they call themselves? Rankers or something like come in there.
So the princess of Jihad is in the first episode.
Yeah, she gives him a sword.
Yeah, that's a big taboo as well. Those swords are only to be wielded by the princesses of Jihad.
Yeah, so he's got a sword that made a pact with him because the sword was all like, hey, I've got a beautiful woman inside of me, and this beautiful woman isn't really interested in, old princess
Other
over
women.
there. She doesn't swing that way. So she's like, I got a contract with old innocent boy here. And so now he's going to get some powers that I haven't really gotten to see yet. It hasn't really come forward too much. You know that it's going to be there, but right now he's kind of like, doesn't know what to do whatsoever from what I'm saying.
There's a good reason for that. Just like I said, the only people who are supposed to use those swords are the princes of Jihad. So he can't use the full powers of the sword. It's more the sword will possess him and just kind of fight for him.
Okay, so you got some Shaman King going on there.
Yeah.
So he ends up acquiring this sword and completes this test from this rabbit that's all like, guess what, man? I'm about to be like the game show host of your journey. And is all like, yeah, and he's all like, and the first game show test is you got to go and get this black ball while a creature goes after you. Well, he passes that test after like forming that contract with the sword, and that like teleports him into like the actual competition. Because from what I can tell, you have to go through the competition to actually just be allowed to, I guess, at your own free will climb the tower. Is that kind of what we're gathering from this?
So it's to test if you could survive the tower. So it's not in the first 3 episodes, so I'm kind of hesitant to talk about it, but there is a trial later on where there's a big force pushed upon them, and if you can't make it through that wall of force,
that was in the first 3 episodes. That was in the first 3 episodes. Yes.
That was episode 6.
No, that was episode 2.
I thought it was 6. I thought 2 was the murder one.
So, all right, here's the order of what we have. Episode 1 basically takes you of Bomb going through his basic first trial with old Rabbit and the princess and Soldier Boy. So then, after he passes that, you end up in the competition of where there's 400 contestants on the game show, but only 200 are allowed to move forward. So people just are offing each other, right? So you end up getting to a point where it's like, oh, snap. There's only, this many of them left. And then they're going to do there was still too many of them, they said. And even though they had to get in groups of 3 first. That was the next test. They had to get in groups of 3, and they end up going through and like tricking Rock to being on their team. And then they're basically like, hey, there's still too many of you guys. We didn't expect this many of y'all to get through. So they put up this, basically this is being used as a plot device to better explain an energy source that is going to be used, I'm imagining, throughout the series, of a liquid-based mana almost, is what I was kind of taken away from it.
Yes and no. The very air you breathe has it in there. That's why that test is going on, because if you can't make it through that wall, you'll literally suffocate once you get to the tower. It will crush you.
That's what I mean, yeah. So, but the way that they're representing it is in like a water-esque form. But yes, it is around everything. And what was interesting is old Bomb there, they just went directly through it without even thinking about where everybody else got pushed back. And it's like, there's a big hint at something, even though when they're trying to play it up like, oh, isn't that just adorable? Oh, Bomb, he got lucky. No. There's something.
Luck is a power as well.
Yeah, that's not what happened there. And I'm sorry, but there's no way that just happened by mere coincidence. Homeboy's got some extra ability about himself. I can already feel that coming off of him. There's an explanation of why it happened. It's not just coincidence.
Yeah, which I
Now,
think they explain more in season 2 than they do in the actual first season.
mm,
They break down a lot more of the rules and understanding of the tower in season 2. Season 1 is just introductory to the main cast and an
yes.
introductory to like the power scaling.
Right. So once they get through old Jelly Wall, some of them more easy than others, they end up going into their next test, which involves them needing to go and choose which door out of like a good probably 10 or more doors that they are supposed to go through. And they have 10 minutes to do it, or is so perceived originally, because beforehand they were given a bit of information that nobody had succeeded through the test that did not go through a door within the first original 5 minutes. And that was literally what the test was, is to not overthink and to basically go through one of the doors without basically wasting too much time.
Well, yeah, which I think is a really good problem for in life too, because the same thing works like if you're given 3 options, that
Mm.
means you have a 33% chance to be right out of those 3 options.
And
And then they'll say, "Oh," then you lock your answer and say, "Oh, are you sure?" So yeah, because my chances haven't changed. I still have a 33% chance.
right, and the best part of it is Rock is why our main characters accomplished that test, because he just opened the door on instinct.
Yeah.
Rock
He is very
is the best character.
orcish.
He's very orcish to me, and I love orcs for anyone that hasn't picked up on that. So, very much in my line of characters that I enjoy, especially if you watched any of our 40K content so far. So, but yeah, so they get through that test, and that brings us up to kind of where we're about to end things off on episode count, which is with them doing the next side test. This is not an actual requirement of them, but basically, if one of them can achieve this, then they will be able to move forward without having to do the rest of the test. And basically, it is you have to end up on a throne with the crown on and hold that position for a certain amount of time while other teams try and stop you. So,
Modified King's Cup.
yep, and it's a fun one. You got to see this was a good time that they're getting to show off a lot of the other abilities of characters that we're going to be seeing for at least this first arc. So I don't want to get too far into it because this is kind of wrapping into beyond this, but you do
Yeah.
get the little lizard girl basically getting to go ham at the end of episode 3. So it's like, all right,
Her story is wild. Just for anybody who's interested, it is wild.
yeah. So I am enjoying the tests that they're doing so far. I will say this has been a fun watch, but the world isn't my favorite so far, and that is one of the detriments to it for me. Because I do want to at least say the little bit of negatives that I have, even though for the most part I do enjoy it. I am a big world person, and like it being a strictly tower like structure. I'm hoping that the further we go along, we get to have a better understanding of the entirety of it, because the tower is only one facet to a larger world that I'm feeling
Yeah.
is out there.
It definitely is. So the first season, like I said earlier, is literally just an introductory season. It is
Mm,
just to tell you who is who, what powers they use, and just a brief understanding of the world. Later on, it goes into more details about each floors. There's bigger trials on different floors,
mm,
and you actually have to think and team up, and it gets a lot more complicated, which is really nice. And then you meet like families, like there's the royal families and stuff like that. Besides Jihad, and you see them and fight against them, and it definitely season by season the world
mm.
gets bigger and bigger, which is something I really liked about the manhwa.
So
So
I will say that one of the things that I want to do when we're reviewing these is since this was one of your since this was your suggestion, if you were going to try and draw someone into this, maybe what would be some similar series that you could possibly compare it to, that they might be like, okay, this is definitely up my alley.
um I think the easiest one to say would be what was that martial arts high school one?
Kenichi?
No. It was a competition style one where they were looking for the strongest high school martial artists or something like that.
I was like a Kenichi's Mightiest Disciple.
No. It's another manhwa. It's written about the same time. They've
Hmm.
messed up the anime based off the manhwa,
Oh,
but they
that's
were both
disappointing.
really good.
Yeah.
No, they're great standalones.
Okay.
Strongest high school.
Well, if I was gonna say something that I would suggest this with, I feel like even though it is not an isekai, it does have those video game tropes that you get sometimes with it, particularly like a menu system and stuff like that with these like black balls that you can summon up for basically like a cell phone esque type thing. But yeah, so there are some RPG-esque elements that I could see in this that would be appealing to someone that might be a fan of that isekai genre, even though it is not an isekai itself.
Oh, God of High School.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I think this is
Is
a little better than God of High School from what I can
no, it
tell.
definitely is better than God of High School, but it still runs with a similar art style.
Hmm.
And in the manga, at least, it ran with the beginning of it was really slow, and then it just jumped.
I do want to throw another interesting one out there that in this series' tone kind of reminds me of that might throw you off, and also because we're having less of a typical world structure, I'm gonna say it reminds me a bit of Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. In art style similarity, the elongated style like bodies of it are very similar in my mind. I think that the tone is very similar, where there is action, but I wouldn't say that it is just a straight all the time action shonen like you would get from something like One Piece or Naruto. Like this is a
Oh,
bit
that
more of a
super sad one.
Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. It's so
Yeah,
good.
the one. Yeah, but it's sad.
It does have sad parts to it, but it is definitely one of those ones that is it's got action, but it is very thought out, and it does have a lot of different themes that it does while they go to different worlds. And I'm kind of hoping that we get that with the different floors in this anime.
Yeah.
Because I do like when you can kind of change up, almost like One Piece does with its islands. I like when you can kind of change the tone with a shift of environment from time to time.
Yeah, so like the biggest thing I can say about the different floors, you see the characters grow and evolve every time that they go up a floor. Not
Yeah.
just in strength, but in like personality and character. You
Mhm.
learn more about them, you learn more about their strengths, their weaknesses, their friends, their families, and the tragic past that a lot of them have.
So, is this first season just going to be their basically entrance exam?
Well, with the exception of the last two episodes.
Okay. So, and how many episodes is in this first season?
Pretty sure there are 13.
13? That seems
Yep,
reasonable.
I'm pretty sure. I just had it pulled up, but Tower God. Season 11, yeah, 13.
Okay, so that's
Yep.
a reasonable amount, especially since we've already taken down 3. That means we would only have 10 episodes left. I will say then that I like this season enough so far that if we can get this video up to let's say even just 200 views, I feel like that's good enough. You know, if people want to share this out and help us out, because we are trying to get our channel out there a bit. So if we can get this video up to 200 views, I don't think that that's going to be too difficult. You know, then we will go and just do a review of the whole first season. I think that that's easy enough for us to do, especially you and I, we blaze through these types of things pretty easily. So yeah, I will say that from what I can tell so far, this one is a watch for me. But I do think that I need to see the whole first season before I can really say if this is if I want to stick past one season with it. You know, I'm still not quite there, so we'll see how I feel after we if we can get through the first season.
Yeah, well, just trying to think about it, like one that you would kind of recognize with the pacing of this series, it's very similar to Hitman Reborn.
Okay, I'm actually a
Where,
big Hitman Reborn fan.
yeah, so how it's kind of slow and funny and goofy at the beginning, but then you got the
Yes.
more serious nuances, and then you met more of the families and stuff like that, learn more of the history, and saw them come closer and closer together.
Yeah. You know, I
And
would
then,
totally be down at some point once we get our viewership up to a point that I can kind of do weird off the wall stuff. I would love to do an arc by arc review of Hitman Reborn because that is one of
oh,
my
I'd be
favorite
down.
shonen. That's one of my all time favorite shonen. Like,
Mhm. I
We'll
loved
see.
reading that
We'll
series.
see. We'll see if we can get up to it, because I know that right now we are currently working on starting a project with another group of people that we have been collabing with for a One Piece review. Well, we'll be taking it arc by arc of that. So I think that I would love to start getting more into doing a lot more of that style of content across the board. So yeah, this was a fun first watch. Well, I guess it's my second watch of Tower of God, but
Yeah.
first time really paying attention. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. So I guess this is where we're gonna end our review of this one. So thanks everybody that stuck around till the end. Please make sure that you like and subscribe this video. We are trying to make sure that we get to 500 subscribers by New Year's. Please help us out with that, and also check out all of our other links for the Inner Geekdom down in the description. Shorty, where can everybody find you beyond down in the description, where I also have your links?
Yep, just find me at Twitch at Shorty Mafia. Come hang out while we do Warhammer and some other cool games coming up.
Yeah, lots of games coming up. All right, thanks everybody for stopping by. I love all your faces. Make sure that you stick around for all the awesome Geekdom content that we are going to have for you in the future. Peace.